Okay, class, so let me show you how to use those numbers to calculate the relative humidity and the dew point. So in the first video, the introduction, where I was taking the temperatures outside of my window, okay, I had a dry bulb temperature of 76 degrees Fahrenheit and a wet bulb temperature of 64 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, now the first stage is to turn these into degrees Celsius so we can use the table in our reference tables. So 76, I come here, 70. Now the interval on the Fahrenheit scale is 2. So I go 62, 64, 72, 74, 76. And that gives me, it's kind of in the middle, but we're just gonna call it 24 degrees Celsius. And 64 degrees Fahrenheit, let's see what that's gonna be. 60, 62, 64, and that gives me about 18 degrees Celsius. Okay, now the reason I just drew that line is that we need to find the difference between these two numbers. So the difference between 24 and 18 is 6 degrees Celsius, and these are the two numbers that we're gonna be using on the next table. The dry bulb and the difference, because the greater the difference between those two thermometers, the drier the air is. All right, so let's go over to our next page here, relative humidity. So the two numbers, remember, that we needed were 24 and 6. So here's 24, and the difference is 6. Where do these two numbers match up? Right here at 55. So what does that mean? That means that that day when I was introducing you guys to the psychrometer, the relative humidity of the air was 55%. Now, dew point is a temperature at which water vapor will begin to condense, all right? And that's called the dew point. So let's go up to here, and it's the exact same grid. We use exactly the same numbers for dew point. 24 degrees, and the difference between the two was 6. And so we come to the exact same location here, 14. So what does that mean? That means that the air in my apartment was 24 degrees. If the air in my apartment had dropped to 14 degrees Celsius, then the surfaces would start to get wet because condensation would begin. Now, the only other thing I need to tell you, okay, is if you have a temperature between two numbers, all right? Suppose you had a temperature of 17, which is between these two, okay? And let's just suppose that the difference was 3. Okay, what are we gonna do? Okay, here, 16 and 18, and so we're between these two numbers here. We're between 71 and 72. So I mean, technically speaking, it's gonna be 71.5, okay? But, you know, you could just round it